All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we're going to be talking about Black Myth Wukong. Let's just get into it, man. I really enjoyed this game. There's a lot to say here, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Black Myth Wukong, when we first saw the trailers, I was pretty excited for this game. I was kind of blown away. They were talking about Unreal Engine 5 and all these things. And, you know, it's one of those games, to be honest, that it overexceeded my expectations when I finally got my hands on it and beat it, you know, recently. It's just such a good game, and I really hope more people get their hands on this game at some point because I really think it's awesome. I'm going to try to talk about some of the things that I really liked about this game, and then, you know, some of the things that I thought that there could be room for improvement. There is one thing that I want to get out of the way first, and it's the performance. Now, the performance was really weird with this one because I don't know if, you know, these consoles are getting old and they're not able to keep up with these higher demanding games that are coming out now, or that Unreal Engine 5 is a new engine and the developers are trying to figure it out because it's new to them and they don't have a lot of experience with this engine. I don't know. I'm not a developer, so I can't really say which one it is, but it was unfortunate playing this game. There were moments where there were stutters, there was frame drop, really stutters that bothered me mid to end game, and they were really frequent. It would just kind of happen pretty often. The frame drops weren't as bad, but it was like these stutters that really took you away from the experience, and it's really unfortunate. It's one of those things where, like, the game is so good that it really just kept me hooked and engaged. And I've played games before where the performance wasn't really great, but the game was so good that it kept me pushing, it kept me going. And this is the case with Black Myth Wukong. The game isn't very optimized. It's not really great when it comes to the performance, but you kind of give it a pass because the rest of the game, the rest of the package, and what it offers, what it delivers is really good. And that's my opinion. Some people might wait down the road for a patch, but that was my experience. And like I said, it just makes me wonder sometimes, like, what's going on here? Is the PS5 Pro maybe justified here with future games with Unreal Engine 5? Is this a very demanding engine where the limitations of the PS5 can't keep up? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I don't know if this is like a hardware thing or developer thing or it's Unreal Engine 5. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I am going to play Silent Hill 2 in Unreal Engine. That game's in Unreal Engine 5. So I'm going to, you know, see if some of the same things kind of occur there. But again, it's probably developer case by case. I don't know. Let's get that out of the way. So performance was a little rough at times, but nothing that stopped me from continuing the experience. The second thing I really want to talk about is the boss fights, because the boss fights really deserve, like, praise above everything. The boss fights, the unique and the variety of them, how unique they are, all the animations, all the hard work that went into the boss fights, from like mini bosses to like the end of chapter bosses. Man, they really went hard with the boss fights here, and I gotta give them a lot of praise for this. Some of these boss fights could be the end of other games' bosses. Like, they were just so well done, so impressive. Some of these boss fights had so many different animations and so many things that they were doing that, again, was so impressive. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, he's gonna do 2-3 things and you're gonna be able to figure out what he's doing pretty quick. No, some of these boss fights, like, would pull out things that you've never seen, you know, after tries after tries. The end of chapter 2 in particular, that boss fight gave me so much shit. And I remember he just whooping my ass for like forever, dude. I can't believe how many times he whooped my ass until I finally got him. And even when I got him, like, I barely got him. Like, he was tough. I don't know if I wasn't the right level when I fought him. I don't know if I wasn't like prepared for this dude. But for some reason, that dude whooped my ass so many times. Him and the final boss. Those two bosses gave me the most trouble. It wasn't one of those like, oh, this is so unfair, I hate this game. No, like it was just like, you know, I played a lot of Souls games, and we'll get into like the comparisons, but I played a lot of Souls games where I just kind of go with it. Like, you're gonna kick my ass until I figure out a way to beat you, and that's a level of satisfaction that I love. Speaking of Souls games, seeing people compare it to Souls, this is not a Souls game. There is Souls inspiration, there's Souls like elements in this game, but it's not a Souls game by any stretch. I know a lot of people want to compare every single fucking game to a Souls game today, but it's not a Souls game. And I'm glad it's not a Souls game, because I think we have enough of those, and obviously From Software does them the best. This is more of an action game with Souls-like inspiration. I've seen people compare it to God of War, and I think that's a little bit more accurate, even though it's still kind of its own thing. It's like a mix of a lot of games. So the boss fights, let's go back to the boss fights real quick, because the boss fights were phenomenal, dude. The amount of bosses in this game, I couldn't believe how many bosses there were in this game, and the level of quality to each boss. That's what's really crazy about this game, is the amount of bosses and the level of quality for each bosses. And that's what really stood out to me, the boss fights. Some people have been saying that this is a boss rush game. That's also false. This is not a boss rush game. You're not just going boss after boss. There are filler moments in between, and I would argue that some of those filler moments are actually pretty good. There's like side quests, there's like a lot of hidden things that you can do. You're not just going boss after boss and fighting just bosses, because in my opinion that would be boring. And I'm telling you right now, it's not like that. There's different chapters, and there's so many areas in each chapter, and there's a lot of bosses in each chapter, but it's not a boss rush game. Another thing that I really liked was the combat, even though I think there's room for improvement here in the combat, and maybe if they ever make a second one, they can probably improve here. So essentially, a combat, the way it works is like there's a 4-hit combo that you're always dishing out. You have different stances, and you can unlock different stances later on. Now, those stances are when you charge your heavy attack, you're going to do that stance. You're going to do that stance move. So what I used a lot was the pillar stance, where you pretty much get higher and higher on your staff, and then you know, do like this devastating blow. Later in the game, the more you level up, you can have up to 3 charges. So you're essentially unleashing 3 charge heavies in one attack that you've built up. And that's really cool. So the stances give variety for the heavy attack, but I do wish that 4-hit combo changed with every stance, if that makes sense. So your 4-hit combo is always the same no matter what stance you're in, and I wish that changed depending on the stance that you're in. Because I'll be honest, that little combo gets a little repetitive. You're doing the same motion throughout the whole game. From beginning to end, you're doing that same 4-hit combo. It really depends on the stance that you're in, where you can kind of add variety to the combat. I don't want to knock the combat too much, because there's so many tools, there's so many things that the game offers you to tackle bosses. You know, you can transform into you can transform into these beings that you've captured, and then you can fight the enemies that way. You can use your spells where you can freeze people. You can pretty much use a spell where you create multiple copies of you, which I didn't really use because I thought that was cheap, even though it looked cool. There's one spell that I used a lot where you go invisible, and then when you attack, you come back to your normal form and you stagger the enemy. I really like that one. There's a lot of things that this game gives you in terms of options to be able to take down an enemy, take down bosses, and that's something that I really liked. And that's where I think the game wasn't as challenging as maybe other games, because this game just throws at you so many things to be able to do whatever you need to do. If you're stuck, maybe change the way you play and try again. There's different equipment, there's different weapons that help you out, depending on like if you want to play, you know, a certain build or a play style. You can kind of customize, you can use that type of equipment to kind of tailor your needs, right? There's a couple of moments in this game that were really, really like crazy good in terms of just themes and, you know, the Chinese culture and mythology and the Journey to the West story inspiration. One in particular, chapter 2, the ending of chapter 2, the cutscene was phenomenal on every level, dude. That cutscene was so freaking good. I remember watching it like a couple times over, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is blowing me away. And, you know, the music, the drama, it's pretty much like a god that is a monster that washed up on shore. He has like, I don't know, he has like diamonds or whatever inside his body. He pretty much transformed the village and the town. He let the townsfolk cut, you know, a piece of him every now and then so he can give, you know, I think they were diamonds to the villagers. And he pretty much transformed this village, and he became this god to them, and everybody worshipped him. And then there was this one scene in that cutscene where this where man gets greedy, and, you know, he runs up at him and he cuts him open, and all of the diamonds fall out. Fucking goes crazy, the monster, and he fucking hits him. But like everybody, it's too late at this point. Everybody's like looking at all the diamonds, and they all charge in and they cut him open. And like it was so powerful, and it was almost like a metaphor to, like, you know, how greedy man can be, and how, you know, it was this god's fault as well, that he kind of wanted that selfishness of like, I want to be a god to these people. That's kind of what I got out of it. I could be completely wrong, because I mean, that's kind of what I got out of it, but it was such a powerful, moving cutscene. I loved every moment of it, and there were these cutscenes sprinkled across the whole game. Every chapter had some sort of cutscene, and it was animated differently. Like, that one was like anime, another one was like, you know, it was different. They really went hard when it came to the presentation of this game. They really went hard when it came to the themes. Right, I really loved all the Chinese themes, and there's all these like Chinese culture and just inspiration and things packed into this game. Obviously, it's made from a Chinese studio. It's a Chinese game, and it just made me think, like, I want more of these type of games. Like, I want more of these type of games. I hope they're making a second one, because I really loved what I was seeing. It was just different. We see a lot of Japanese things, a lot of Japanese games. We don't really see Chinese games, and, you know, Chinese history is so rich. And even though this is, you know, Journey to the West, which is essentially mythology, it's still really, really cool that they were able to pull this game off and put everything together. I really loved this game, man. Like, I really, really loved it. Walking away from this game, I truly felt like this was like a Game of the Year contender. It was a really strong title that came out this year, and I really loved almost everything about it. And you know, the boss fights, especially the end boss, was really the cherry on top of the whole experience. Like, the last boss of this game, you're essentially fighting yourself, or you're essentially fighting the real Sun Wukong, because the whole time you're not the real dude. You're just like, you're another monkey trying to seek this level. You're trying to follow in his footsteps. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, I did not follow the story. It was hard to follow the story. I was in it for the ride. I was excited to play the game and just kind of enjoy what it was offering me, even though I didn't follow every single detail. I didn't follow the story. I could probably do that, and you probably should too if you play the game, because it is hard to follow the story. I doubt they packed the whole Journey to the West into this game, and that's where I think it's hard to follow, because there's so many things all over the place. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I did not follow the story at all. Like, it was hard, but I know that the main character that you were playing was not the real Sun Wukong, and you pretty much fight him at the end. And dude, the last boss fight was incredible, was challenging, it was so fucking good. I couldn't believe it. It took me a while to beat him because he was very, very challenging. 2 phases, and the boss right before him was 2 phases, and he was pretty challenging. But the last boss fight, the animations, the things that he was doing, the scale of this boss fight in terms of, you know, the fluidity of the fight and like the epicness of this fight was captured. And it was so epic, dude. It was so amazing. There were things that the boss was doing that I've never seen a boss fight at that scale before. The things that he was doing was so impressive, dude. And I remember when I finally beat this game, I was like, this is one of the best boss fights in any video game that I've played, and I've played a lot of video games, man. This was one of the most epic boss fights I've ever played. And it was truly like a nice little finish to the game. Like it was such a nice way to end the game on this epic finale. I fucking loved it, man. I love this game so much. So performance wasn't the greatest, but I got through it. Boss fights, combat, the themes of this game, the music of this game was really good. There was a lot of great music in this game. A lot of the outfits that you can wear are pretty badass. You can change your staffs. You can upgrade your items. It was all really, really good, man. I truly think that this game deserves Game of the Year. And if you haven't played it, go check it out. I highly recommend it. But that's pretty much it, guys. Black Myth Wukong. I finally beat it. I loved it. One of my favorite games of the year. Go check it out if you haven't. If you like this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you are, I appreciate you. Take it easy. Peace.